Let's talk about using the commands generate and egen to create new variables. And I'm going to start showing you both their syntaxes. So the command generate is the one on top, and it requires that you type the command itself, generate. If you want, you can specify the type of the new variable. Note that it's in brackets, so it's optional. The standard type in STATA is float, so unless you specify another type, the variable type is going to be float. After that, you need to give the new variable a name. Here we have new var, and you just substitute that for whatever name you want for your new variable, and then the expression that's going to define how this new variable should be coded, what values it should contain. And then on egen, you have pretty much the same syntax as you do with generate, but instead of having an expression, you have a function. This is a predefined function and arguments for that function. So egen has a series of predefined functions that you can use, and the main difference between generate and egen is that egen is a little bit more sophisticated. So you need to know what these functions are in order to use them. And you can find out about all these functions typing the help command for egen, help egen. Let's see this in some examples in STATA now. The first thing we want to do now is look at the help file for egen. And here we can see that where depending on the function, the FCN, arguments are going to refer to an expression, a variable list, or a number list. And the options are also dependent on each function. And then there's a huge list with a lot of different functions here. Here, for example, you have any value, which is one of the functions that we're going to use. I'm going to show you how it works. And it says any value and then a variable name, values, and it requires a number list. We're going to see this in an example, and it's going to be more clear. But you can see there are a lot of functions. So if you plan on using the egen command, you should at least look at this help file and try to understand some of these functions, which are very useful. This one, for example, mean of an expression, and it creates a constant within a variable list containing the mean of the expression. Anyway, let's go to an example and it's going to be more clear. So close this, and here I have a do file, and you'll be able to download this very do file over here. So the first thing I want to do is Control D over here to use the auto data set. And then I want to tabulate rep78. So rep78 is the repair record of all these cars. I want to tabulate it. So Control D once again. Let's minimize this. So we can see there are 5 possible values, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, for the repair record of these cars. So why is it that I wanted to do that? Because I want to create a variable called highRep78 containing the same value as rep78, so either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, depending on the observation, if rep78 is equal to 3, 4, or 5. So I'm going to ignore 1 and 2. Otherwise, high rep78 is going to contain missing values. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a variable called highRep78, and it's going to be 3, 4, or 5 if the value of rep78 is also 3, 4, or 5. And if rep78 is equal to 1 or 2, it's going to contain a missing value. And I chose this because I can do this using either generate or egen. And here are the expressions. First, using generate. We have the command generate. Remember, you can abbreviate this if you want. Let's use gen here. The name of the new variable, highRep78, and I added a g here to specify that we're using the command gen. It's going to equal rep78 if rep78 is higher or equal to 3 and lower or equal to 5. So we are fulfilling this requirement over here. And otherwise, it's going to contain a missing value. So every time this is not required, this is not fulfilled, everything else is going to be a missing value. Let's do this, select everything, and execute it here. So we have created, let me minimize this. We have just created a variable called highRep78, G, as you can see here. and there are 15 missing values generated. Probably because we had 15, 2 and 8, 10, and 5 missing values. So we have 5 missing values plus 10 values that are either 1 or 2 in rep 78. Going back to our do file, we're going to do the same thing using egen now. So we have the command egen, the name of the new variable, which is high rep 78e for egen, and it's going to equal that function we just looked at. So any value is going to have the same value as rep 78 if the variable rep 78 is equal to a list between 3 and 5. So it's pretty much the same thing we did above. So let's select this and create this variable also. And we also have 15 missing values generated. So how do we check if these variables are the same? How do we know if they're equal? And to know if they're identical, I'm going to use the command count. So I want to count every observation if for which high rep 78g is different. So this is the symbol for different that you should have looked at in expressions. So if it's different from high rep 78e, so what is the value that we should expect here? 0, right? Because if high rep 78g is different from high rep 78e, that means that these two commands did not generate the same variable with the same values. So let's execute this and we should expect for a 0. And here we are. The result is indeed a 0. And if you don't trust me, let's browse these two variables and we can see they are the exact same. So this is a small data set. We can actually look, we can have a visual verification to see that they are the same. So if you want to verify if the variables are identical, like we're doing here in a very large data set, I do recommend you use a command like the one I'm using here. Okay, we have just seen how to use the commands gen and egen, but you should really try and look in their help files, and especially look at all the examples that you can see and try to execute them yourself, because these can be very tricky commands. In our next video, we're going to see how we can add labels to variables.